Do you know what really pisses me off? I see men over the age of 60 who feel like their sex lives are over. It's normal to accept dysfunction, discomfort, and frustration just because of age. Society seems to think everything is okay. Doctors often don't mention it in consultations. And the worst part is that most men just accept it as it is. That's a lie. A big lie that needs to be exposed. Now, and I'm going to do that in the next few minutes. If you're tired of being lied to, if you want the real truth about what's really destroying your intimate health after 60, you've come to the right place. I'm Dra. Rose Padilla, a doctor who has specialized in men's health for over 20 years. And my mission here is simple. Provide honest and straightforward information. No fluff, no false promises. And since you wisely clicked on this video, I'm just going to ask you one thing before we get started. If you want to continue receiving real content that no one else has the courage to say, hit the subscribe button now and give it a like. Why? So that the next video will definitely reach you before anyone else and you won't miss any important information that could completely change the quality of your life. And another fun fact. Comment here with which city or country you are watching. Seriously, it's so inspiring to know that this channel reaches the whole world, and that's even more of a reason for me to continue bringing hidden truths to you. Now, let's get straight to the point. Mistake number 1, and very common and scary, is jackal with too tight a grip. After 60, TD sensitivity naturally decreases a little due to physiology. What do many people do? They make the grip even harder, thinking that they will feel the pleasure more. The problem is, it becomes a vicious cycle. Too much pressure damages small blood vessels. Sensitivity decreases over time, and the worst thing is that the body is trained to only need very strong stimulation to react. Result: when he is with his partner, whether it is his wife of 3 years or a new date, he can no longer respond normally. The brain has been trained to need such tightness that ordinary sex is impossible to provide. I have a patient, Ramon, 63 years old, married, who came to the clinic almost crazy because he could not finish sex with his wife. We talked yesterday. I found out that he had been using too much tightness when jerking for a long time. So the body's natural response had been damaged. It took several months of re-education to restore that. Mistake number 2. Jerking too often without allowing the body to recover. I know that libido does not disappear after 6. Sometimes it is even higher. But there is a big difference between 26 and 29 years old in the recovery of hormones and the body. In boys, testosterone and other hormones only recover a few hours after ejaculation. After 6, it can take days. If you masturbate every day, or even worse, multiple times a day, you continue to deplete hormonal reserves without enough time to replenish. That causes chronic fatigue, paradoxical drops in libido, erection problems, and even mood and energy. I'm not saying stop completely. Don't. I'm just saying be smart and strategic. Respect your body. If you notice that after masturbating, you're tired for a few days, the quality of your erection has decreased, your appetite has decreased significantly, you're overdoing it. It's as simple as that. Mistake number 3. Using increasingly extreme forms of excitement. This is dangerous but very important. As you get older, especially after 6, many people notice that the old materials that used to excite them are no longer enough. The porn industry knows that. So they offer more intense, more extreme, more shocking content. Our brains work on novelty and intensity when it comes to dopamine. That's why men start consuming heavier material just to feel anything. The big problem is, the brain is completely desensitized to normal and healthy stimuli. I have a patient named Eduardo, 6 or 7 years old, who has been watching extreme porn every day for a long time. When he met someone again and tried to have sex in real life, he was no longer excited. His brain was so conditioned to artificial and intense things that reality seemed meaningless. It took more than a year of abstinence from porn and therapy to somehow get that back. That's the brutal truth that you're not told. Mistake number 4. Using masturbation as a constant emotional escape. Stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, all of that is part of life. Especially after 6, when there are many changes. Retirement, children leaving home. Sometimes losing a partner, changes in the body. Sometimes masturbating as a stress. Relief is normal and healthy. The problem is when it becomes your only way to deal with emotions. When you're stressed out, whenever you're bored, masturbate. Whenever you're sad, masturbate. That becomes a serious psychological dependence that affects mature and healthy coping with emotions. What's more, it reinforces loneliness and isolation because it replaces real human connection with repeated solo behavior. I saw this with Rodrigo, who is 60 years old. He's been single for 3 years. He used masturbating as his only coping mechanism for loss and sadness. As a result, he became increasingly distant from friends and family, in a cycle of guilt and repetition that further damaged his mental health. The problem isn't masturbating itself, but using it as a crutch that's destroying his life. Mistake number 5, and perhaps the most dangerous, is ignoring the body's warning signs while masturbating. Pain, bleeding, extremely difficult erection, painful ejaculation, changes in the color or texture of semen. It's been 6. Any of those could be signs of a serious health issue. Enlarged prostate, infection, cardiovascular problems, even chronic injuries if left untreated. But what do most people do? They continue to ignore it in the same way. Sometimes they even force it even more. That's very dangerous. The penis itself is an indicator of cardiovascular health. If there is a weak or no erection, that could be the first sign of clogged arteries. Diagnose diabetes, controlled high blood pressure. But instead of consulting a doctor, many people continue to masturbate by any means. They don't listen to their body's cries. I know Antonio. He is 4 years old. He ignored his erection difficulties for months. When he went to see a doctor, he found out that 3 coronary arteries were seriously clogged. The erection problem turned out to be an early warning of a major heart issue that almost killed him. So let's get a bod quickly because it's serious. First, be careful of excessive pressure that damages and reduces sensitivity. Second, respect the recovery time of your body, which is no longer 20 years old. Third, avoid increasingly extreme porn that desensitizes you to real life. Fourth, don't use masturbation as your only emotional tool. Fifth, never ignore the body's signals that may indicate serious illness. The truth that many don't want to say is that sexuality after 6 can still be very satisfying, deep, and delicious, but it requires adjustments, intelligence, self-care, and honesty. It's not about stopping masturbation, but about doing it consciously and healthfully. And if you've made it this far, congratulations on your courage in seeking out real information. Now, give it a like if this has opened your eyes to something important. Subscribe because there's more coming next week, and comment here where you're